Poetry Karaoke here in Malvern Books. And we appreciate Malvern Books hosting, of course. There are prizes, and those will be drawn later in the evening. So we've all got our poems through rolling the die. And I got J, so I get Randall Jarrell. And Randall Jarrell was in World War II, and he famously wrote Death of the Ball-Turret Gunner. He died in North Carolina. His adventures in World War II caused him to drink and be an alcoholic. And his death, he was hit by a car, but it's thought that he did step in front of the car. So I'm going to read a poem that Dennis Johnson, the great writer of like Jesus' Son and Tree of Smoke and those things, he comes every other year or so, he comes to UT, and he had a gathering where you just bring a poem that you really, really like. And so he read this, The Woman at the Washington Zoo, and it reduced him literally to tears. So we're sitting around, people reading, and he's got this poem, and the emotions are so strong in it that it reduced him to tears. I probably won't do that, but it is an amazing poem. So The Woman at the Washington Zoo by Randall Jarrell. The saris go by me from the embassies, cloth from the moon, cloth from another planet. They look back at the leopard like the leopard, and I, this print of mine that has kept its color alive through so many cleanings, this dull, null navy I wear to work and wear from work, and so to my bed, so to my grave, with no complaints, no comment, neither from my chief, the deputy chief assistant, nor his chief. Only I complain. This serviceable body that no sunlight dyes, no hand suffuses, but dome-shadowed, withering among columns, wavy beneath fountains, small, far off, shining in the eyes of animals, these beings trapped as I am trapped, but not themselves the trap, aging, but with now knowledge of their age, kept safe here, knowing not of death, for death, O bars of my body, open, open. The world goes by my cage and never sees me. And there come not to me as come to these, the wild beasts, sparrows pecking the llama's grain, pigeons settling on the bear's bread, buzzards tearing the meat the flies have clouded. Vulture, when you come for the white rat that the foxes left, take off the red helmet of your head, the black wings that have shadowed me, and step to me as man, the wild brother at whose feet the white wolves fawn, to whose hand of power the great lioness stalks, purring. You know what I was, you see what I am, change me, change me. And I should have made this clear, and I'm sorry, the title, The Woman at the Washington Zoo, is a persona poem, and this is the woman speaking. So she's at the zoo, and she's got her dull, bureaucratic job, and she goes to the zoo and just wants to be changed, wants to be somebody else. So, Randall Jarrell. And thank you.
So, next up, we've got...
Yeah, go ahead. I'll do that. The music needs to go up.
Oh, right.
Sorry about that.
That was just background music.
Yeah.
Do you want to go in the order that they're here, or how do you want to do it?
Let's do alphabetical order. Which means, yeah, Joe Bratcher's next with, how do you say Ms. Berg's first name?
Uza.
Uza Berg.
Uzaberg.
Or B?
I think this is one I wanted to read. Sit down. This is a volume of Husaberg. It's translated by Johannes Göransson. He's translated a lot of her poetry and has introduced me and a lot of readership around the United States to Swedish poetry that we wouldn't know otherwise. She is a very interesting type of poet. I don't like to categorize poets, but I find her very interesting. So I want to read a prose poem called Water Bottoms. Water Bottoms. It is glowing green here. The light drop flutters reflections, slits of light and lightness in the trembling foliage. Here glowing pearls stick to the thin branch. There is a scab on the branch. Inside it, the lymph runs slow and sweet. It is dangerous. The shell's surface is perhaps thinner than the lip larva's glowed through silk skin. It breathes through a small hole, a creature of glass light with no earthly form. It glows through a membrane of saliva secretions. Here the snake also hangs red over the branch. He has human eyes and follows the deer's movement with a calm gaze. But soon the ray will burst out of the branch. Soon the ray will burst out of the branch. Soon the membrane, the poison will erupt. Soon the eye juices will run across the wooden face while the grass is ground into seed flour in the deer jaws. The sweet stalk will bend backwards toward the pain, and here a feather moves toward the river surface as she who loves water sinks back through the bottoms of light.
All right, I figured out the alphabet. So Leah, you actually end up next because you have the letter F.
Wait, doesn't somebody have the letter D?
Oh, God, sorry. Leah, you're not next. Sam is next with the letter E, and then Leah.
I'll sit down since I'm bold. I would have washed my hair if I knew I was going to be on camera. And brought my glasses. I was prepared. I have E, so I'm doing Elliot because I also waited till the last minute to prepare. So I chose the biggest block of text I could find. So I'll read that, because I could read the first word. Hysteria. Oh, and I should mention I never read poetry aloud. I write it, but I don't read it. Hysteria. As she laughed, I was aware of becoming involved in her laughter and being a part of it, until her teeth were only accidental stars with the talent for squadrille. I was drawn in by short gasps, inhaled at each momentary recovery, lost finally in the dark caverns of her throat, bruised by the ripple of unseen muscles. An elderly waiter with trembling hands was hurriedly spreading a pink and white checked cloth over the rusty green iron table, saying, "If the lady and gentleman wish to take their tea in the garden, if the lady and gentleman wish to take their tea in the garden." I decided that if the shaking of her breast could be stopped, some of the fragments of the afternoon might be collected, and I concentrated my attention with careful subtlety to the end. This sentence, actually what it said. Thank you.
Leah is next, and Shauna, you're after Leah.
Okay, I have F, so I picked Gabe Foreman, who is evidently from Canada. And this is from a complete encyclopedia of different types of people. So, history buffs. The 1980s started to invade humanity during the 1840s. They manifested as a broad antlered pop ballads gazing on the work of a few unknown Slavs. Chopin, for instance, was surrounded by a herd of ruminant keyboard solos as he slept. So was Marie Curie, Laura Secord, and Sigmund Freud. Over time, alien music from the future came to dominate the psychic skyline of millions. Our lawn was beaten flat by February of 1982. Those who resisted were trampled in their nightmares. Without warning, experimental jazz on horseback hunted the decade to extinction in the fall of 1986. The 80s ended for an army of reasons. They didn't just run out of time. We didn't know what it all meant. We still don't.
Shauna with Lauren Ireland.
Yeah, I chose Lauren Ireland's Had I, which was there's not many choices over there, but so she actually wrote this collection of letters to one of her idols, Lil Wayne. And this is that collection, and I thought it was really funny, so. All right, so this was July 14th, 2010. He actually was incarcerated when she was writing them. So he was receiving all these letters. Apparently he never responded. So anyways, Dear Lil Wayne, hey, I hate it when my hands smell like pennies. Do you think you're too sad for each other? We're too sad for each other? Last night I dreamed the richness of gasoline, ropes, of hair, canvas, that dead bird. I mean, almost everyone is lonely. Almost no one's amazing. I know. How about we ride into that time that hasn't been invented yet? Then we'll invent music.
Wow. And he never responded.
I know, and they're all really good.
Chandra is up next.
I got
Vladimir somebody.
So I picked the much beloved Russian poet Vladimir Mayakovsky.
You don't read the Russian?
No, it's not bilingual, unfortunately. Also, I'm very much out of practice. Listen. If stars are lit, it means there is someone who needs it. It means that someone wants them to be, that someone deems those speckles of spit magnificent. And overwrought, in the swirls of afternoon dust, he bursts in on God, afraid he might be already late. In tears, he kisses God's sinewy hand and begs him to guarantee that there will definitely be a star. He swears he won't be able to stand that starless ordeal. Later, he wanders around worried, but outwardly calm, and to someone else he says, now, it's all right. You are no longer afraid, are you? Listen, if stars are lit, it means there is someone who needs it. It means it is essential that every evening at least one star should ascend over the crest of the building.
Yeah. Number 6. Walter, do you have a poem? No. Next time. All right, so number 7, Dominic. With, I don't know, something that starts with R.
Rainier Broken.
Oh,
If that sounds like correct.
Real good.
real good.
Real The Panther. His vision from the constantly passing bars has grown so weary that it cannot hold anything else. It seems to him there are 1,000 bars, and behind the bars, no world. As he paces in cramped circles over and over, the movement of his powerful soft strides is like a ritual dance around a center in which a mighty will stands paralyzed. Only at times, the curtain of the pupils lifts quietly, an image enters in, rushes down through the tensed, arrested muscles, plunges into the heart, and is gone.
I hate to follow Rilke, but it's my turn.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
I ended up with S and decided rather than to go with Carl Sandburg, who I love, I would pick someone I didn't know. And as it turns out, Patricia Smith, let's see, she did a record-setting 4-time National Poetry Slam champion. She's been in the Deaf Poetry Jam. She lives in New York. And she got a blurb from Marvin Bell, who I actually know. So I thought that was kind of cool. And I just flipped it open. The first poem I looked at is this really beautiful poem called Elegantly Ending for Ella Fitzgerald. A lyric unravels, spins on drizzled axes, one syllable slinks and becomes several. A stark shaft of light illuminates a never-over evolution. Each exhaltation excites and concludes with a slight upturn of phrase that compromises the hip, foot's fat legs, lends such southern heave to torso. Mysteries thrive in the belly, and in the miraculous of her throating, send 2 errant verbs round about themselves and into the keys of her spine again. It is not for us to know her trilling, suddenly murderous and cringe, beautiful, inbound, her legs gone. A lack of this elegance is the end of evolution. Consider the soundless whole. Over. And how perfect that we all got to be the warm-up act for David Joel.
Yay.
I got T, and is it Novica Tadic? They described it off the shelf there. And I noticed there is some Rusky writing here. Do you know how to read Russian, I guess? I wish I did.
Very poorly.
It's Serbian.
Oh, see what I know. Okay, Serbian. It just has that strange alphabet. And then I look on the back, and he got some degree from Chicago. And I grew up, or he was even at University of Illinois in Chicago, and I grew up in Illinois. So I thought I grabbed something from far, far on the other side of the world, and he hung out in my home state. So this is called a conceit. There, over there, she lies, beyond the looming peak, beyond the curtains of rain, beyond the dead horizon. The only creature who's similar to me, who's waiting for me, who's calling me. From the looming peak, through the curtains of rain, through the lifeless view, calling me. A living doll, a creature with round eyes, rosy lips, hair spilling into the earth. So I think I'll buy this book.